We've got breaking news out of the NFL. Falcons quarterback Michael Penix has suffered a potentially season-ending knee injury. That's the latest from our Jonathan Jones. The former first-round pick was hurt during the third quarter and replaced the rest of the way by Kirk Cousins in that game against the Carolina Panthers. If Penix misses the rest of the season or any time at all, it'll be Cousins under center for Atlanta. Penix has a history, of course, of those knee injuries. Tore his right ACL twice as a member of the Indiana Hoosiers, once in 2018, then again in 2020. You take a list, it's not just the torn ACLs that he's dealt with, fractured collarbone, as well as that knee bone bruise back in 2025. So both knees giving him some history of problems. He's reportedly seeking a second opinion to see if this knee injury is a season ender. We now continue this conversation, bring in our guys, Douzable and Ran Carthon. And Ran, I'll ask you first here from a perspective of the front office. You have Kirk Cousins, he's rocking with him. You're looking to bring someone else in if this is indeed a season ender.
No, this is why you keep Kirk Cousins, right? And everyone speculated early, hey, trade him, get rid of him. First of all, the cap number wouldn't allow you to move him, so that's a whole nother thing. That's not why we're here today. Yeah. But this is why you keep him. This is why you still have him on your football team, because when we show the schedule here, they're still very much in it. This division is still very much up for grabs, and you have a veteran quarterback in Kirk Cousins that's been in these type of situations, Lige, and will give them a better chance to win football games than anybody you could possibly bring in off the street.
Yeah, this is very unfortunate if you're Michael Penix Jr., right? This is a guy last year who only spot started at the end of the year, and this was his first full year as being a starter. The only way to develop in this league is to get the subsequent reps on the field, and we saw his history of injuries. Now, he's been relatively healthy the last 4 years besides that bone bruise he had earlier in the year, and me and Rand were saying, people may look at that and be like, it's a bone bruise, why did he miss a game? I've had one of those. Those things will take you out for a couple of times, and they linger, right, if you do not take care of them. So this is very unfortunate, right, because they paid Kirk Cousins all that money. It didn't work out. They drafted Michael Penix Jr. to be the heir apparent to Kirk Cousins, and it's kind of been up and down. And it seemed like he was finally getting in a rhythm in this game versus the Carolina Panthers. I believe they were up 21-7 when he goes down, and then the Carolina Panthers make this comeback and win this game. So you feel for the young player because there's already been so much pressure on him. I remember a reporter asked him earlier, in times of distress on the sideline, like, who do you lean on? He was like, I don't lean on anybody. And to me, that's malpractice. Like, you can't lean on your coordinator. There's not a veteran in that locker room you can lean on. He's felt like the weight of the world has been on him because he wants to do well. Like, I know him. He wants to play well for the Atlanta Falcons, and this just sucks if it is true that this season is coming to an end.
Well, and I'll say to that point, too, having worked for the Falcons organization and having been in that community of Atlanta, there is not a position that has more pressure on it than the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, because this franchise, this city, this state so desperately wants that championship, and they put so much pressure on that position to be able to deliver that championship.
So he's seeking that second opinion. Obviously, probably wants to still keep playing. 3-7, not good record, but you still are in it, but barely, because you're 0-3 in the NFC South, Lige, with a loss to the Bucs already and 2 losses to the Panthers.
Correct.
So honestly, why not just sit Penix down, because this is really close to being a lost season?
Well, it just depends, right? Let's let the medical team do their work and see what type of injury he actually has, because as a competitor, if you're healthy, you want to go out there and play and compete. Now, I know people will say if the season is lost, he's the franchise, the face of the franchise, why put him in harm's way? And you see it. We talked about it, Zach. It kind of opens up, right? They have the Saints, who have struggled this year. They have the Jets. Now, the Seahawks and Bucs are going to be tough. The Cardinals have been up and down. They have the Rams at home, and then they have the Saints. So there's a lot of winnable games there, and the way the Bucs keep losing, and then also the Jekyll and Hyde of the Carolina Panthers, they're still technically in this. So I'm not sure if he'll be able to go this week, depending on the second opinion that he gets. But if you're Michael Penix Jr., and like I said, I know the competitor that he is, if he's healthy enough to play, he's going to go out there and put his best foot forward.
Yeah, and I'll just say, even from a second opinion standpoint, it's very rarely that you're going to get a second opinion that's going to overturn what the original is. And typically, if you get a second opinion, Lige, that means you didn't like the first one.
Yep.
And so, hope for a speedy recovery for Michael Penix. I know that, he's put a lot of work in this offseason. And again, he had the weight of the world on his shoulders coming into the season and was expected to really lift this talented Atlanta offense. And so, but not only is he going to miss some time, Drake London left the game yesterday and did not return, so we got to wait and see what's going to be available there. So even with Kirk Cousins coming into this game, he may not have a full complement of weapons.
Yeah, that Drake London news is a sprained PCL that he suffered in that loss to the Panthers. He is awaiting some other opinions as well. NFL Network reporting that suffered it in overtime of the game, so just was unable to get all the way through. Having a great year, if he's going to miss extended time, I mean, just like this is obviously a blow. You lose your quarterback, but then you lose Drake London as well. Just how difficult is that, Lige?
It's massive. He's clearly the number one option when you talk about pass catchers. Now, Bijan Robinson is a guy that you hand the ball off to and can throw the ball out of the backfield. But the connection between Michael Penix Jr. and Darnell Mooney hadn't been that great. Now, it'll be interesting because he actually had a pretty good connection with Kirk Cousins last year, and Mooney had dealt with some injuries and missed a good proportion of training camp, so he's still trying to get his legs from under him. So you would think Darnell Mooney would become the number one option on the outside. Kyle Pitts is a guy that went high in the draft and they've been expecting a lot of. He's played better this year, but still hasn't come to that draft status for how high he was picked. So right there you see Drake London's receptions and targets per game. He's clear-cut the number one option on the outside. He's a guy that's really good on those outbreakers, but he can also tear up the middle of the field. So that would be a massive blow, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix Jr. under center if Drake London can't play.
To me, this is where Kyle Pitts has to step up, and this is your opportunity. You're on the final year of your deal, so this is as great a time as ever to get those targets and show that you need to be paid properly and handsomely moving forward. But also, this is where you just give the ball to Bijan Robinson and get out of the way. You know, and if he needs a breather, you have Tyler Algier that you can turn around and hand it off to. But this is where Zach Robinson uses his creativity. Let's put Bijan in the slot. Let's have Tyler Algier on the field with him at the same time and find these matchups, these creative matchups. And you use the word all the time, inventiveness.
Inventiveness,
It's time to see that in this Atlanta Falcons offense because you still have weapons that you can win with. You just have to use them.
Yeah, and as we kind of alluded to the fact, okay, there's a little bit of life left in for a chance to make the playoffs. And when you get the Saints in a division game that you have to get, you go to New Orleans. Totality, Lige, when you look at this Falcons program, Raheem Morris, the chatter starts to begin about his job security and everything. How critical is it that they get this win and they start stringing off some?
It's massive. We saw the Carolina Panthers in this spot with an opportunity to close the gap on the Bucs, and they lose the game at home to the New Orleans Saints. So New Orleans not going to be an easy out. It's already tough to play in New Orleans, but it seems like Tyler Shuck got a little bit of confidence now. They're just coming off the bye. We'll see how this team could respond after coming off the bye. But if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you're Raheem Morris, you're under the pressure cooker right now because, to Rand's point, there's subsequent talent on this roster, right? You guys, spent a boatload of money in draft capital at the quarterback position, and you still haven't been able to get it done. Now, the biggest issue for them last year was the pass rush. They fixed that. They're top 5 in sacks. They can get after the quarterback, but there's been some offensive woes that they need to get corrected, and they need to get it corrected quickly versus Saints this week.
And here's what I say. Again, leaning back on my experience in the division, throw the records out when the Saints and Falcons play. Just throw the records out, and that's going to be a knockdown, drag out. Trust me, coming off of the bye, the Saints will be very well prepared for this matchup, and the Falcons will be limping into this game. But we know how it is when an animal's wounded and their back's against the wall, you get their best performance. But again, I would just completely throw the records out of the window when it comes to this Saints-Falcons matchup.
Yeah, they get the Saints this coming Sunday, and then after that they take on the Jets, as the Falcons certainly will not have Michael Penix Jr. for maybe the foreseeable future, and no Drake London for at least this week against the Saints. And now as we get ready for another week of NFL, you know that always starts on Sundays with NFL Today. The crew kicking it, starting at noon Eastern, getting you all set for those 1 o'clock kickoffs. Check it on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.